Well, shalom, everybody. I hope that you're doing well today. We're going to further the discussion in these things that are in our food. And it's not even food. It shouldn't even be considered food when you have these products in there. And basically, it's something that we as the 144,000, or we as a number that no man can count, that's to come out later on, once understanding, wisdom, and knowledge is truly revealed, it's going to be taught even when our king comes and he takes over for the millennial reign, which just means 1,000 years when he's going to reign, and we're going to rebuild the earth. Ezekiel 44, as I've got up here, it shows in here what the priests are supposed to be teaching in those days, and as well as these days too. Those that are of the 144,000 are basically qualifying to be these priests that Ezekiel 44 is speaking of, and 45 all the way through the end. These priests are the 144,000 and all the others that had lived and died in righteousness, like Father Abraham and Moshe and Aaron, and these righteous men will be priests as well. The 144,000 is just a remnant of the number of the priests that have lived since Adam and Eve all the way up through. But anyway, what we're going to be teaching, and what I'm trying to bring out right now for anyone that'll listen, and I know it's difficult because the belly gods don't want to hear this, and I make more enemies than I do friends when I start speaking about the food. But here in Ezekiel 44:23, it shows what I'm supposed to do, what you're supposed to do, what all of us are supposed to do if we want to qualify for the kingdom. And it says, "And they shall teach my people the difference between the holy and the profane, and cause them to discern between the unclean and the clean." So basically, when it comes to the foods, I've explained a lot about not eating pork, not eating clams and oysters, or things from the sea that and the waters that don't have both fins and scales. Catfish, you can't eat them. Well, you can, but it's going to cause you to be destroyed in the end, because these habits, these things will not be allowed in the kingdom that is coming. But anyway, there's a difference between the holy and the profane, and that's what I'm trying to explain here when I show different things like the chemical additives in the food that we eat. But here first, I want to show, and I've mentioned the belly gods a few times in scriptures, and I figure that I should show it to you here. In Philippians 3:19, it says, we'll start up here in 3:17, and this is our citizenship of heaven. "Brethren, join in following my example, and note these who walk so, as you have us for a pattern. For many walk, of whom I have told you often, and now tell you even weeping, that they are the enemies of the stake of Yahshua, whose end is destruction, whose God is their belly, and whose glory is in their shame, who set their mind on earthly things. For our citizenship is in heaven, from which we also eagerly wait for the Savior, Yahshua our King, who will transform our lowly body, that it may be conformed to his glorious body, will be just like him, according to the working by which he is able even to subdue all things to himself." But these are whose God is their belly. And you can tell somebody, things that are killing them, but they'll turn right around and agree with you, and then they'll turn right around and go to Subway or whatever and grab a ham sandwich or chew on a bag of Doritos or any of these things that the poisons are in that are keeping them from actually coming to the full understanding and knowledge of the truth, because their belly god is keeping them from doing so. So anyway, let's take a look at several ingredients. I'm going to concentrate more on two of them. This here dimethyl poly, we'll get into that, and the potassium sorbate is what I want to speak about mainly. But these other things you need to know, it's here. You can go to this here thoughtco.com, thoughtco.com, like it says up here, and you can see this article for yourself. But it says chemical additives are found in many foods you eat, especially if you eat packaged food or visit restaurants a lot. And I'm telling you, you shouldn't ever go to a restaurant if they sell anything to do with pork. It is on everything. If they're cooking bacon on their grill, and then later on in the afternoon you have just a beef hamburger, you're having pork with it, because the grill is completely contaminated and it cannot be cleansed until sunset. If they wash it prior to sunset, it'll still be contaminated. The pots and pans and everything else that they may touch, after, if they got the grease from the bacon on their fingers or their gloves and they touch anything else and someone else comes and touches it, and next thing you know, it's everywhere. They've done these little studies in like hotels and motels, things of this sort. They go into a room with their infrared lights or their black lights, whatever it is they use, and they'll shine it around looking for human body fluids, and they find it on the ceiling and everywhere. The light switches, every place is just covered with sperm, basically. And it's just so nasty. Well, pork works the same way. If you get it on your fingers, you touch something, someone else is going to come up and touch it and transport it to other things. So no matter what you get in a restaurant, if they serve pork there of any sort, ham or bacon or, pork chops or roasts or even lard, some places, Mexican restaurants will fry their chips and such in lard. And restaurants are just contaminated. They're totally unclean. A believer should not go to a restaurant. And saying that, even to believers, they get a little upset because that belly god they've got to, offer these offerings to, and it can keep you from the kingdom, So you need to pray about these things yourself. I'm not telling you don't do it. You got to make your own choice. I can't save you. You have to save yourself. Got my trumpet in. All right, my shofar. So we'll be using that here for the Feast of Trumpets. Anyway, it says, what makes it an additive? Basically, this means it is added to a recipe or maybe the packaging to confer some benefit to the food, not to you. But it's for the food, and they try to say, that this includes obvious additives like colorings and flavorings, as well as more subtle ingredients that affect texture, moisture, shelf life. And here are some of the most common chemicals in your food, and the opportunities that you ate one or all of them sometime today. You probably could have if you haven't been paying attention. And what this one's talking about is this diacetyl, and it's in popcorn that you put in your microwave. And what it does is it'll vaporize it into the air. And if you pop 2 or 3 bags of popcorn a day, if you got a family of friends or whatever coming over, you pop a lot of this microwave popcorn, you can end up with what they call the popcorn lung. Now here we got carmine or cochineal extract. This is actually unclean, but it's also a chemical that comes from it because it is unclean. And what it is a food coloring. It's the additive is also known as red number 4. It's used to add a red color to foods. As red food coloring goes, this is one of the better choices since it's natural and non-toxic. Oh, wow, that's great. But what is it? The additive is made from crushed bugs. And we used to have these bugs on our cactus plants down in Texas. We had where they would grow the desert pears. They were red in color on the inside and a whole bunch of seeds all through it. But these bugs used to love to crawl all over the cactus. And when you crush them, they were a brilliant red to like purplish, some of them. and they're unclean. You're not supposed to eat these things, but yet they're putting them in your food. So, as far as side effects, things of that sort, it really doesn't matter because it all is going to bring you death if you're eating the unclean thing and know you're doing it. So don't eat this red number 4 because it's got, or the carmine or cochineal extract. This is from a bug that you're not supposed to eat. It's not a food, it's an abomination. It was created for specific purposes, but not to be in your food. Now, this here we're going to go on a little bit about this dimethylpolysiloxane. And you'll find this as an anti-foaming agent in a lot of your cooking oils and things. But it's not just in cooking oil, but it's also in vinegar, chewing gum, and chocolate. It's added to oil to prevent it from bubbling up when frozen ingredients are added and such. And here is the side effects. You can see this on, let me block that like that so I can find it again easy. But this is on dimethylpolysiloxane, the tablet-wise site here. And I'm using these for educational purposes. I'm not desiring at all to, have any copyright infringements on me at all. I'm not a thief. But as far as the information they put out, now what they also use this for, it's not just for your, keep things from foaming in your oil, but it'll kill head lice on the scalp. It's supposed to help damage tear, retinal detachments, viral infections affecting the retina. This here is the side effects. You can get cataracts and hypotony, corneal abrasion, dimethylpolysiloxane, whatever, may also cause side effects not listed here. So there's more things that can go on from this thing that is profane. It's unholy, and you should not put it into your holy temples. Now, the other thing we really want to hit on a little bit is this potassium sorbate. There's a lot out there on it, and it's a real horror what it does to our holy temples. And like it says, potassium sorbate is one of the most common food additives. It's in just about everything, my friends, and when they combine it with vitamin C, it mutates your DNA, which I'll show you here shortly. But potassium sorbate is one of the most common food additives. It is used to inhibit the growth of mold in yeast in cakes, jellies, yogurt, jerky, bread, and salad dressing. For most and it's not, that's not all of it. They use it in sodas and juices and all sorts of things. It's one of the most common food additives because they want to kill you. FDA is not your friend, and neither is the Heart Association, because they back up liars and make you feel safe and secure when you eat these things that are killing you off for Agenda 21. Read these things for yourself. I'm just showing you the difference between the holy and profane. This here is not holy. It is profane, and you won't be allowed in the kingdom if you can't control your belly gods. It says for most products, any risk from the ingredient is considered to be lower than the health risk from ingesting or eating mold. so by putting this in your food, it's a little bit better for you than if you was to eat a bowl of mold. It says, however, some companies are trying to phase out this additive from their product lines. If you find a product free of potassium sorbate, your best protection against yeast and mold is refrigeration, although refrigerated baked goods may change your texture. That's all they mention on this site. Let's go over here to my Chrome page, and this is under a diet tip from fooducate.com, I believe it is. Yeah, fooducate.com. You can look this up here, potassium sorbate. And down here is where it gets interesting, and it says, It talks about potassium sorbate is also a mild skin and eye irritant, but the qualities used in food, or the quantities used in food, are minuscule. So this is not an issue, except for they've got expect, EXPECT. So this is not an issue, and it should be except, I believe, for very rare occasions. Having said that, 2 studies have shown that potassium sorbate has the potential to mess with our DNA. In one study, potassium sorbate is clearly seen to be genotoxic to the human peripheral blood lymphocytes, the white blood cells. In another study, potassium sorbate mixed with ascorbic acid or vitamin C, which, by the way, if it doesn't say organic vitamin C or non-GMO vitamin C, it's most likely derived from GMO corn, which have killed many people. GMOs are not food. They're franken foods. You know, they're things for non-believers to eat. But if you're a believer, you shouldn't ever eat anything that's a GMO, no matter how hungry you are. It's a poison. It was created by man. It's not something our Heavenly Father created or the Son even endorses. But it says potassium sorbate mixed with ascorbic acid, which is vitamin C, which is present in many foods. Well, what does this potassium sorbate and vitamin C do to you, or ascorbic acid? It caused mutagenicity and DNA damaging activity. The risk demonstrated in studies is very low, but it is statistically significant. So if you're eating or drinking anything with potassium sorbate in there, you're most likely going to also see that they add ascorbic acid or vitamin C. The same thing, just different names. So when these are mixed together, it causes mutagenicity and DNA damaging activity. So you shouldn't ever use it. And here's a second report, okay? And I'll read down here. It shows these results demonstrate that ascorbic acid, which is vitamin C, and phenol oxidized PS, potassium sorbate, and the oxidative products cause mutagenicity and DNA damaging activity. So there you got 2 witnesses, and this here came from this potassium sorbate from ToxNet, Toxicology Data Network, which you could see up here in the link. So please watch out drinking or eating this potassium sorbate. The FDA is not your friend, I'm telling you. Now let's go on to brominated vegetable oil. Some benefits of this is none. The brominated vegetable oil is used as a flavoring to keep ingredients suspended evenly in liquid and to impart a cloudy appearance to some beverages. You'll find it in soft drinks and energy drinks, although it also found in non-food products such as pesticide and hair coloring. Although considered relatively safe in small amounts, consuming multiple products, an example, several sodas a day, can cause health problems. An elemental bromine is toxic and caustic. So they're putting these things in our foods. You should not eat or drink brominated vegetable oil. These things are not holy. You know, they are unholy. They are profane. A lot of times you'll see this BHA and BHT. And these things are known for a long time to cause all kinds of health, problems, but yet they still put it in there. FDA is not your friend. If it's FDA approved, most of the time I put it right back in the shelf. I'm scared to touch it. It says BHA, butylated hydroxynisol, and BHT, butylated hydroxytoluene, are 2 related chemicals used to preserve oils and fats. These Phenolic compounds likely cause, these compounds likely cause cancer. They know this stuff and they still put it in your food. People, please wake up. So they have been among the most reviled food additives for several years. They have been phased out of some foods, such as many potato chips, but are common in packaged baked foods and fatty frozen foods. They know that it causes cancer. Gonna likely cause cancer. They know it. And yet they let them put it in your food to satisfy your belly god. BHA and BHT are sneaky additives because you'll still find them in packaging for cereal and candy, even if they aren't listed on the label as ingredients. Okay, vitamin E is used as a safer substitute to preserve freshness. So anyway, my friends, now you know about the belly gods. Here in Philippians it talked about the belly gods, whose end is destruction, whose god is their belly. If you can't get away from this type of, I don't want to say foods, because these additives are synthesized. They're not the things that you would find naturally in plants or animals, even though the names are exactly the same. What they're doing is they're taking rocks and oil that they get out of the earth that you use to drive your car after they turn into gasoline. They take these different things and they take out what looks, identical to what you find in a plant or whatever, or they synthesize it, and it's not useful for your human body. Your body knows it's bad for you, and it causes cancers and all these different illnesses. People, please wake up. If you say you love our King, we need to start showing them by not putting these things into our body. And we have to discern the difference between the holy and profane. And what holy actually means, just so you get a better idea, holy is anything that's beneficial for your holy temple. If it's beneficial for it, it is holy. But if it's not beneficial for the holy temple and a precursor to get into the kingdom, then it is profane. It's defiling. It's unholy. It's evil, if you want to put it that way even. If it's not holy, it's evil. So we're supposed to teach the difference between a holy and profane, and to cause them to discern, to like it even says, that a pearl of gold or an apple of gold or a ring of gold and a swine's snout is the same thing as a beautiful woman that has no discretion. She does not discern. If you're not discerning, you're no different than a jewel in a pig snout, and ain't nobody gonna eat the pig or whatever. You're useless. But we're to cause them to discern between the unclean and the clean. So there you have it. We got two different chemicals that I'll put up there in the listing. This dimethylpolysiloxane and the potassium sorbate. Please refer friends to these things and explain to them why you're not going to do it anymore. And then you should go through your cupboards and your cabinets and start pulling these things out. Give them away to, pantries, food pantries or whatever, and put real food into your cabinets. And hopefully my next video, I'll show you a couple of these things so that, you can look them up for yourself. It's easy to eat out there. Of course, your choices will be restricted a lot, but at least you'll be pleasing our King by doing so. It says that we have to endure until the end. There's got a reason B for saying endure. If you had a simple time in this walk, if you choose it, then you're not enduring at all. There's nothing to endure if it's easy. But when you start getting your butt whooped and people coming after you for all these different things because I'm trying to save your life, this potassium sorbate is going to kill you. And it shows that when they mix it, and they do it all the time, it's in most of the sodas. They mix it with vitamin C or the Was it ascorbic acid? I think it was. But vitamin C, when they mix it with potassium sorbate, it causes mutations in your holy temple. It breaks it down on the inside. Do you think our king is going to be delighted in that? How can he live in your heart when you're trying to kill your heart? Stop having children, by altering your bodies to where they become sterile from the potassium sorbate and such. Please, people, let's wake up, help one another. Let's stop putting these things inside our holy temples, like it says in 2 Corinthians there, that if you do not touch the unclean thing, then you will be received. But if you touch the unclean thing because you want to put it on your feet as shoes or whatever, pork skin, gloves, any of these things, suntan lotion, sunscreen, whatever that has unclean things in there, or do you know that your body, your skin, it's an organ. It is bigger than all your other organs combined. And it absorbs these poisons and these toxins and these unclean and profane things right inside of your skin. It sucks it right in. And you're defiling yourself. Let's stop doing this. I'm praying for you that you will understand these words. And I want to keep this short, so I'm going to just cut it off there. And hopefully I'll bring out something even before Sabbath on a couple other food additives. They're drugs, deadly drugs, lethal drugs. They're deadly poisons and chemicals. That's what these are. They're deadly, and that's why they are putting them in your food. Most of the other countries have said, no, you cannot do this in our food. America, home of the free and the brave. Boy, they're so brave they can eat anything as long as it don't eat them first. If we start thinking spiritually, we'll walk away from these things and not turn back. And I hope that you do. I'm praying for you that you do. Yahshua, please give these people strength to overcome their belly gods. With that, my friends, I say, oh, don't hate me, man. I'm just a messenger. I love y'all. I hate what you do. Shalom.